Ever imagined your AI agent effortlessly chatting with all your favorite apps? With MCP in n8n, forget tedious field selection, manual data transfer. Everything just connects automatically. Your AI agent can now communicate, retrieve, and post data seamlessly, making your workflow smoother than ever. Let's dive in and see how this game changer transforms your automation experience. And wait till the end while I explain MCP in little more detail. Now, to build agents using MCP protocol, the first thing we need to do is go to GitHub on this repository. I'll be pasting the link of this in the description below. You can check that out. Now, this repository n8n nodes MCP is created by nerding.io, who is a really good developer. I've checked out some of his repositories and they are quite brilliant. You should really check that out if you are a developer yourself. And for MCP, we will be using n8n nodes MCP repository to communicate between agents. And I have been using this for a few days now and it is working brilliantly for me. If you want to know more about this guy, Nerding.io, you can check out his YouTube channel as well. And this is the channel or video in which he is talking about MCP server. So do check his page out and subscribe if you wish to. Now, what we need to do is copy this, and if you're using a self-hosted n8n like me, you need to go to settings and leave without saving and go to community nodes, from where we will be adding this repository, right? So let this load for a few seconds and click on install. Here you can paste the name, click on I understand, click on this checkbox and click on install. I'll not be pushing install now because I've already installed, but once you paste the name and click this checkbox, you'll be able to smoothly install this repository without any errors. If you do, however, face any error, please message me in the comment section and I'll be happy to help you. Now, this is the first step for installing our node, but the second thing we need to do is go to command line from where we are running our n8n, right? So this is my server access using SSH, and I'm using Hetzner server, which is quite cost efficient. So if you haven't picked a server yet, there is one suggestion from me. I am not promoting it, it's just have been very helpful for me. So I am first jumping into the folder where I have kept all the n8n files, and here they are. I am going inside the docker compose YML, and let me just do that again. Once you are inside docker n8n file, you can add this line here, which is n8n community packages allow tool usage. So this will allow easier access and usability for the tool. Once this is done, you can refresh the browser or the n8n using docker restart and the node or the name of n8n node or the n8n container which is hosted on your server. For me, it is just n8n, so docker restart n8n command should be enough. Now once this is done, you should be able to use the MCP agent or the node. So let's jump back to our Canva here. Now let me quickly add an AI agent and a chat model. So I hope you have already installed or connected your chat model, whether it is OpenAI or Gemini or Grok or maybe something else. So do add your API key in this and you'll be able to connect your model here. Now what do we have extra which we have received from the installation, right? So MCP was not natively available inside n8n, or n8n does not provide an MCP. It's a third party library which we are using. So we have MCP client which has all those options. So let's say execute Here it looks like the square node, just like OpenAI node which we use normally, but we will be using tool for MCP, which is this. Now let's quickly understand how MCP works. So before that, let's me quickly revise how traditional APIs work. So for traditional APIs, whichever service we used to access, for example Airbnb booking, or maybe YouTube APIs or Google Map APIs, so there used to be different APIs for each and every task. For example, to search any place on Google Map, there was a different API. For adding a new business on Google Map, there was something else. And before we could actually perform that task, we needed to understand how that API worked, what URL to use, what body to pass, and how to structure that information, what structure to provide, and what structure to expect back. All those things have been simplified by the new revolutionary MCP protocol. And what options we will see now is just generic this list. So we have list tools which will list all the tools. Tools are basically what are information or schema that service provides or has. So if it is a Google Map, it will have schema like place, location, longitude, latitude, and maybe reviews, ratings, and other things, right? So all those things will be listed to us using, if we use this list tools. So we'll be starting with that. Now very important, how to add credentials for MCP. So if you haven't added yet, it's a very important process, and for that we need to jump to GitHub again on this model context protocol servers. So if you scroll down, some of the services have really jumped into this bandwagon very quickly, and those are the ones we are seeing here. So we have GitLab, we have Git, Google Drive, Google Maps, Postgres, and Slack, and Brave search for web searching. So those have been the forefront runner and quickly adapted to this new revolution MCP, and I'm really grateful for them. Now let's start with Brave search. So we will be searching web using Brave API. So before we move forward about how we can install, let's create an account on Brave. So what you need to do is go to this dashboard for Brave and create your account, add your name, email, and other credentials, and go to API keys from where we will get our API. So here it is. So you might not see this one directly because it asks for subscribing before we get the API key. And don't worry, the subscription is free, but you'll need to add your credit card details for it. Once it is done, you will be able to get the API key and you can use it there. So let me quickly copy this and jump back to n8n. Now we left our part here, right? So what do we add in command? So because we are using community nodes, we can go to npx here and use this credentials or use this configuration, right? So this is for every service which we use, whether it is Brave search or Slack or maybe in other services or other applications. So do find this part or do find this configuration if you when you scroll down, and you'll be able to integrate this thing in your application. So command is what we will add in the command which we just saw in n8n, and for arguments we have two. So let's copy this one and add it here. Let's add npx, and for the second one we will copy again and add it back with a space in between, and lastly we need to add Bravo API key, so copy this part and add it here. You can click on expressions to view and add the API key which we just saw from Bravo API. There we go. Now click on save, and once it is done, I've already saved it, you'll see something like this. So click on it to select it and make sure you do name this particularly. I haven't named it, but make sure you name it as Google Map or Bravo API key, because for every other service we integrate, we'll be keep on adding these things, so it might confuse us later. So the first thing we'll do, or we are doing, is listing out tools for our agent to understand how to work. Second thing is to actually do tasks, so we'll add another MCP client tool for that, and we'll click on execute tool. So it's time for execution now. For expressions, we will leave up to AI to do this part, and here again we will click on this, let model define this parameter, right? So we are leaving everything to AI, and there it is, our first agent is ready to be tested. Let's open chat and click find good date places, or maybe restaurants in Mumbai. Let's see how this one works. It might take a few seconds, it will just jump on to different nodes for a few times and it will give us the response. So first thing it is doing is finding all the tools. So let's see how this one looks like. So we have gotten response and tools, and the name of the tool is Bravo Web Search, which it automatically fetched. Now perform a web search using the Bravo Search API, ideal for general queries, news, articles and online content. So we have schemas, query, count and offset. Next thing we have is Bravo Local Search. First thing we had was Bravo Web Search, right? So description of this is again mentioned here for our agent to understand. We do not need to go into the details. Everything will be parsed to the AI agent, where our model will understand what to work with and it will give us the response. So let's wait a few more seconds, let this load. I love how this loader looks, it's quite visually aesthetic, and we'll see the response here. Let me pause the video until this response is ready. Okay, so I think this tool has failed. It was my bad. I did not mention the system message clearly. So use Bravo tool to web search. Use Brave, I'm sorry, tool or just plain simple list tools first and then execute tools when you have the information, tool information to work with, right? So what I'm mentioning is this list tools and execute tool. So what I'm telling it is use Bravo tool to search web or web search, let's not confuse it, and use list tools first and then execute tool. So let us quickly search something again. Our find restaurants in Mumbai yeah, let's find 5-star restaurants in Mumbai. So let's see how this one works. I'll wait for it to get executed. It will take a few seconds again. So, and that's it. The execution has completed without any errors. So OpenAI took 600 milliseconds in at the start, and MCP client at first took around 7.5 seconds, which was this, which just retrieved us the tools, right? So this is how the tools would look like. It will be Brave Web Search, which is, if you have ever seen an API documentation, there is a heading of what that API does, there is description and the URL and all the other details which we require or have to gather to call that API, and that's how this MCP is, but it's just a JSON array which is not very specific as an API would be, like how the body should be exactly structured or how the URL should be. It's just the name and description of what this would do and the schema, right? So this will give us or take in the query and count and offset, and it will return us the value, right? So Brave Web Search, if I have to describe this, query is what we just entered, like find 5 restaurants in Mumbai, and count will be how many results we want, and offset will be if we want to move on to the next page, we can change the offset to 1 and then count to, like, we can set it 5 or 10, so that many results on that page would be given to us. Same with Brave Local Search, searches for local businesses and places using Brave's local search API, right? So those are the two MCP tools which Brave provides, and this tool is the actual worker or executor, and it returned us title Mumbai restaurants and description. The first one is in Lower Parel, which is suggested by the Zomato service. Okay, so this is how the browser works, right? It does not give us just the exact list, it gives us recommendations or some other website links which matches their keywords. So this is what it did. Title is top 10 best fine dining restaurants in Mumbai again, and this one is by TripAdvisor. So if you want to look what it is, we can just jump into this. And if we want our workflow to do the task for us, we can use scrapers. So there is Firecrawl scraper available, which we can use very well. And if you notice, this is updated in 2024, right? So what this means is it is giving us latest data, because if our MCP client had failed, our GPT may have returned us some value, like it already knows what are 5 best restaurants. It would of course be a list rather than just recommendations or links, right? And even that list given by GPT would be older than 2024. It would be somewhere updated in 2023 or 2022, right? So which is a proof of how successfully we have executed, or this one has run. And yeah, so all the tools have been called one after another and the execution has completed. So that's it. That's our first basic MCP agent, and I'm sure this revolution of MCP APIs or just the protocol is going to change everything. It's going to change the web development. It's going to change how apps interact with one another, and I just can imagine how widely adopted and this would be, and it will be just revolutionary from this point on. Now, if you want to know more about MCP, there is official document of model context protocol.io. I'll provide the link in the description, and it has everything you need to know. So what it is marketing itself as, which is very rightly being said or claimed, and I totally agree with it, that it's USB-C port for AI applications, right? So if there are multiple AI applications, the biggest challenge I was facing till now, or before I got introduced to this, was that everyone had different schema or different API methods, right? So I had to learn that API method, I had to design code or maybe an n8n workflow for it, and then I was able to use those. But MCP will be able to get all the tools available to us for that service to interact with that service, and also the execution method or execution node of MCP will be able to communicate with one another. So do look into this. It shows how this was designed, right? So I'll just quickly gaze over it. The general architecture looks like this. At its core, MCP follows a client-server architecture where a host application can connect to multiple servers. Okay, so MCP servers will be provided by most every service from now on. We already have seen a few in the on the GitHub link which I saw earlier, and going forward, most of the service, well-known service, will be giving us their MCP protocol access. So programs like Cloud Desktop, IDEs, and AI tools that want to access data through MCPs are called MCP hosts. So those are some terminologies. You can go through it, and I'll make a video about explaining this protocol in more depth, all the terminologies and how to work with it, so you never get stuck and you always stay ahead of the curve from your competition, right? So this is the time to get used to this, to get adapted to this new protocol, and this will really bring a revolution or a massive upgrade in your career if you are able to use this, and if you are in your technical field. So do go through this and keep waiting for more of such videos from our side. If you like this video, do subscribe to our channel and give us a like. Comment if you would like to know something more about this, or maybe if you want to see some other video on MCP, how to use it on n8n and how to make complex workflows, and I would be happy to take your queries. And if you are still new to n8n, if you would like to know about n8n more, I will be providing a link of the course of n8n in which we have discussed or taught n8n right from basics, right from zero. So if you are easily able to understand what I am teaching or what we are communicating to you, do go through that course. It's really helpful and you'll learn a lot through that course. And that's it about this video. That's it about MCP introduction. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you.